This is Curt with eTrailer. Today we're going to take a look at the Pace Edwards UltraGroove Retractable Hard Tonneau Cover, and we're going to see how it fits and how it installs on our 2025 Chevy Silverado 1500. Operation of this tonneau cover is going to be really simple. Everything can be done right here from the tailgate. We've got a pull strap here that's going to allow us to get it closed. And under here we're going to have a little switch here that all we need to do is rotate. We'll hear that click, and then all we need to do is kind of give it a shove, and it'll open right up for us. When it comes time to close it, I can just pull on this, and about every 12 inches you'll hear a click. Those are stopping points as I close it. So I can leave this partially open if I have something hanging out that's going over the tailgate, like maybe a ladder or some boards or something like that. I can still keep those partially covered without any problem. But as I bring it toward the tailgate here, it's going to close. I'll stow away my strap, lift it right up, and I've got a good flush fit all the way around. The tonneau cover is a really good way of keeping things in your truck bed both secure and away from the elements. And this particular one is retractable, meaning that it has a canister that sits down below the bed rails, meaning that as you put it up and open it, unlike a folding or a roll-up tonneau cover, you won't have anything blocking your rear window at all. Everything is going to just roll up inside that canister that's down there below the bed. It sits pretty low along the rails too, so it's got a really nice streamlined look. It's going to be vinyl, and it's going to have aluminum rails and aluminum supports going across the tonneau cover. Now, while that is going to make it very difficult for anybody to cut into this, from a security standpoint, anti-theft standpoint, it is not going to be rated on this tonneau cover to take any weight. It's actually a bit flimsy up here, as you can see. So this won't be the type of tonneau cover that you're going to be able to set items on top of or walk across or anything like that. You really don't want to do that at all with this particular cover. I mentioned this being a pretty low profile tonneau cover. It does sit above the bed rails, but it only sits above the rails by about 1 inch. So for that, I would still consider this, a pretty streamlined look on the truck. Now, we're also going to take a look when it's completely open, with that canister back there, how much bed space are you going to lose even with it open all the way up? You're really only going to lose about 13 inches of space back here. This being a 5 3/4 bed, you're still going to have, about 56 inches worth of bed space that you're going to be able to use freely. You can use the additional space under here, however, you're going to be limited to a height of about 11 inches. Now, it's really important that you get the year, make, and model of your truck into our fit guide along with the bed length. There are 3 different bed sizes for the 2025 Silverado 1500, and that's all going to be dependent on the length of the rails that you get and how far that's going to retract and come out for you. So please make sure that you put that all into our fit guide. Make sure that you're getting the right kit for your truck. But installation of this is a little complicated at times. We are going to show you how it goes in. It's going to go in by, really 2 clamps on each side that need to be assembled, and the rails are going to attach to the canister here. The canister being mostly aluminum and with the cover being aluminum and vinyl, it's not as heavy as you might think it would be. This is something you could definitely do on your own. Having a friend just makes it that much easier. But follow along right now, and we're going to show you exactly how we got this installed. We'll begin installation with taking our canister and making sure this flat portion is facing the cab. And we're going to set it on something that's going to support and elevate it above our rails. The manufacturer's instructions recommend using the box that it came in. However, we found that it just didn't really come high enough to do what we needed it to do. So we're using a couple of totes for our support. But if you have a couple of like 5-gallon paint buckets, those work great as well. Identify your driver and your passenger side rails. And in order to do that, what you're going to notice here is that we're going to have this kind of rubber flange here is going to be to the outside of the truck. We've got a flat end here, and we've got a more rounded end down by the tailgate. So this will be our passenger side. We're not doing a permanent install today, so I'm going to leave this piece on, but if you are installing it on your car, go ahead and remove this. You're going to find a foam strip under here that's just going to give you added waterproofing protection. But for our purposes, we're just going to leave it on for this install. And what I'm going to do at this point here is I'm going to rotate it up on its back just like it is. We're going to have this little ledge right here that we're going to slide right on that, just like this. And what we're going to do is slide it over until it's between the third and fourth rib here, and then we're going to rotate it just like so and let it click into place. Just make sure everything is pushed up to the cab as far as it'll go. One little trick is that sometimes you'll get your canister out of the box and these latches here are going to be deployed. What you're going to want to do is push those all the way in and let them catch so they stay retracted. That's going to allow you to be able to, the other thing you want to do too, by the way, is get your cover going into this groove here. But what that's going to allow you to do is be able to slide this all the way up as far as it needs to go, which is going to be a few inches beyond the back of your canister. And then it'll hold in place right there. If you want to double check to make sure that everything is lined up correctly, our next step is going to be to insert a bolt under each side of our rail to the canister. So just make sure those bolt holes are lined up and you'll know you've got it installed correctly. Now we can remove our supports and lower everything down onto our bed rails. Next, what I'm going to do is take my Phillips screwdriver along with my rail screw, lock washer, and flat washer, and we're going to go ahead and on both the driver and passenger side install that, and we're going to just basically be bolting the rails onto our canister. Per the instructions, it says our model number. You don't really have to do this, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure why you wouldn't. There are these stake pocket covers to cover your open stake pocket here. So I'm just going to go ahead and slide that into position before we finish clamping down our rails. Put in our clamp extensions. Now these are going to be labeled for you, FL for front left, BL for back left, left indicating the driver's side. You'll see FR and BR for your passenger side. So we're going to start by installing our front left clamp, and what we're going to end up doing is coming up here, we're going to have this track right here with an indention that's going to allow us to slip this on. Now I found that it actually helps a little bit to lift this up, because what you want to do is get the back end done. It's going to squeeze really hard up against here and then clamp on the front area. Okay, just make sure it's sliding along the track on both sides. The back one is going to go on in a really similar way, just got a little bit more clearance back behind it. So we're going to hook it around the back after we find our indention right here. Pop it in and slide it toward the back. Now when you put this on here, make sure of a couple of things. One, these kind of two bolts and this set screw should be facing the tailgate. So we're going to pop that on, slide it back, and where you want to line this up to is right where the edge of that indention is. You want to line the edge of your extension up with that. On the front extension, we're going to push it toward the canister, and we're going to line the back of it up with the edge of that same indention. Take your 5/32 Allen wrench and go ahead and tighten down that set screw so we can keep these in place. We're going to do this on the clamp up by the canister as well. It's going to be time to attach your brackets to these extensions. Now these are going to be front and back specific. You'll notice that one has a much shorter bottom to it, the one with the longer bottom to it, and this little extra piece at the bottom is going to go up toward your cab. The shorter length one is going to go back here at your tailgate. And these are just going to slide in place right there on our extension, we're going to make sure that it goes toward the wall of our truck bed. We're going to do the same thing here on our front. We're going to take the next part of our bracket. These aren't going to be specific to the cab end or the tailgate end. You'll notice this part at the top here swivels a little bit and it's rounded off. This is going to go underneath the bed rail of your truck, while this section here slides right over. And you just want to make sure that this is facing more this way than this way, because you want it to kind of, as it tightens, kind of pin itself up against there. So we're going to move it a little bit to make sure that we get the clearance we need. Then we'll slide that piece over together just like that. Now we're going to take this long bolt with the knob end, feed it through there, and we're going to take this piece and thread it on. Now there is kind of a cradle for that back here in the back for it to nest into. So we're going to go ahead and put that all together right now, and then we'll be able to tighten up our clamp. Set up our kickstands. These are going to help kind of adjust the pitch of our rails, and what that'll end up doing is making sure that they're level so everything on the tonneau cover slides really nicely. So this is the area here that we're going to run this through. There really isn't anything that tells you you have to run it on either side of this bracket. What it does make you do is make sure that this is not pivoted in any way and is up against a flat surface. So it does give you the option to mount it on either side of the bracket. We're going to mount it through the front, get on this kind of flat area right here with it. So I'm going to remove the wing nut, the lock washer, and the flat washer. I'm just going to run this right through here, and then I'm going to replace those and get it tightened down. Now, as I'm tightening this down, I am making sure that this is level. I don't want it like this. I don't want it up like that. I want it to be coming straight out. And once I've got that in a good spot, I'm going to turn this knob to loosen this bolt and get the pad of this kickstand right up against my sidewall. Now, we don't have a liner in the bed of this truck, so I'm going to use pretty much every bit of this bolt that I can. So it is going to end up popping off the little rubber cap that we have at the other end of our bolt. But I am absolutely okay with that, because again, I need all of this when I don't have a liner in the bed. If you got a liner in the bed, you probably won't need to use as much of this bolt to extend the kickstand out. Install our tailgate drain tube. So for that, what we're going to have is this kind of little coupler here that is going to go up underneath our rail. Now, some of the trucks are going to have existing drain holes back here that you could take the plug out, put this in, and run it right through, and you're fine. This particular truck, however, doesn't have that. So your options become a little bit more limited, so to speak. You could certainly drill through the wall of your truck to run your drain tube if you want to. However, with this plug here, the lights and everything, there is some electronics back there. You'd have to be extremely careful to do that. One of the things you can do, though, is run through your stake pocket bolt hole right here. There is a drain at the bottom of this that will fit this tube. However, if you want to run it that way, my suggestion would be it's a lot easier to do it before the rails or anything go down. Just run that through and leave it hanging out while you do the rest of the installation. On the other end, this will screw on to this piece here. And then the tube end is going to be furthest to the back. This is just going to slot in right here. And this will end up running and draining out whichever way that you decide to do it. Hopefully, though, you've got the existing drain hole that you could just take the plug out and run this into. Lubricate your sweep seals. Now, your sweep seal is this seal right here. It's going to run over the top of your actual tonneau cover, and this is just going to help it glide along a little bit better and also improve any water resistance that you're going to get. We're not doing a permanent install today again, so I'm not going to be opening this up and lubricating the seals, but you're going to want to get it on the underside and over the top of it, all the way up and down the seal, even up over here and into the canister. It's just good practice to get it all the way up and down. You're going to do that on both the driver and the passenger side before moving on to our canister drains. Our canister drain is going to consist of a hose that's a little bit thicker than the one that we had at our tailgate. There's a foam gasket, this blue gasket going around it here, and you'll see that there are two pop-in tabs on each side. Underneath your canister over here in the corner, you're going to find exactly where those go in, and you're going to find where the two tabs are on either side to get this lined up and popped up in. Now, as far as where the hose is going to go, once again, just like at the tailgate, we don't have existing drain plugs back here. This we will have to drill. We don't have another option. But since we're not doing a permanent install, again, we're just going to go ahead and tell you what you need to do. So just right along here toward the bottom in this area right here is where you would want it to be located. Check the underneath of the truck bed and check in between the cab and the front of our bulkhead here. And just make sure that we're not going to drill too far and go into our cab, and make sure that, you know, we're pretty clear underneath it too. Make sure it's not, you know, interfering with anything. But the drill size you're going to use for this is going to be a 3/4 inch or 19 millimeter, and you just want something that's going to be able to go through that sheet metal pretty cleanly for you. But all you really need to do as far as the canister end of it is pop it up and into place. So when you pop it in there, you're really going to have to kind of compress that seal, and the idea is to give it a twist so that those tabs lock up and into place and secures up into the canister. Before we put on our canister cover, go ahead and undo the hook and loop attachment for our strap in the back and feed it through. We want to make sure that we have this available at the tailgate so that everything can be operated from there. We're going to go ahead and grab our canister cover. The Lear name is going to be readable from back here, and you're going to have this kind of ledge here in the front. Now we're going to have two bolts here, or bolt holes here and here. We're going to line them up with the holes that are in our canister cover. And then we're going to grab our screws here, and we're going to go ahead and get those threaded into place. Now, when you have it open like this and you're loading and unloading it, this strap can get in the way. You want it to be accessible for you, obviously, to get it closed from here, but what are you going to do with it when you're loading and unloading? Well, they've actually provided us with some hook and loop attachments. We've got a little bit here on our strap, and we've got some further up right here. So the other end of this has an adhesive backing. If you want to clean off an area to put it, you could kind of stick it wherever you want to, but it's just going to allow you to kind of stick your strap up and out of the way. So you can have it back here just for convenience, or if you want to make sure it's clear of any loading and unloading, make sure you're not loading anything on top of it by accident, stick it right up here to the longer attachment part and really get it cleared up and out of the way. Of course, hook and loop, you could buy this at stores all over the place, so if you want to add kind of multiple attachments back here so you have options on where to put your strap, by all means do so. We're going to go ahead and pull on it, and as you can hear, it's clicking as we go. There are stopping points for this forward and back at about every 12 inches, so you can leave it partially open if you have something that's maybe long like a ladder or something that's hanging out over the tailgate. But if we're going to get it all the way shut, all the way to the end, stow our strap, and voila. If that installation looked a little bit complicated for where you're comfortable with, go ahead and check out our dealer locator on our website. It'll find a local installer near you that works with us, and will be able to get this installed on your truck for you. But if after watching this video, you decide that the Pace Edwards UltraGroove is the tonneau cover for you and your Silverado 1500, after you get it and install it and use it for a little bit, please share with us what you think about it in the comments below. We would love to share your experience with other neighbors just like you so they can make the best decision for themselves. Once again, this is Kurt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.